Chiro here for Umbra Games with a review of Mega Man 11, released October 2nd, 2018 for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. I could barely believe my eyes when I saw that it's been over 8 years since we saw the release of Mega Man 10. At the time was a digital-only release that followed in 1:6's 8-bit pixel art style. But I guess with this being number 11 and the first releasing in 1988, that there had to be a giant span of time in there somewhere. So, Mega Man returns in a core numbered title with a graphical upgrade, 8 new bosses, and a new gimmick in this release. To start, if you've not played a Mega Man title before, or Rockman as he's called in Japan, you take the titular blue bomber through 8 stages that you get to choose the order of yourself, and at the end of each stage is a robot master whose name often reflects its power. In 11, for example, we have Bounce Man in the form of a connected set of giant looking rubber balls, and he bounces around the room. As you defeat each boss, as is tradition, you absorb their powers, allowing you to use their weapon as you please, especially to take on other bosses. Most of the time each boss has one weakness from the other 7, so sometimes figuring out the order by making it to a boss and flipping through your powers and trial and error can make things easier. But sometimes using Mega Man's standard Mega Buster can be. Mega Man's normal shots by tapping the fire button can get the job done on smaller enemies, but you can also charge by holding down the fire button and releasing for bigger damage. Enemies with cover and shields have always been a thing, and in this one, several enemy types that can block can actually be staggered by that fully charged shot. The addition to this core title is the presence of what's called the Double Gear. Installed into Mega Man from the beginning of the game, the Double Gear provides a temporary boost to either power with L1 or speed with R1. Power boost will increase damage output from the Mega Buster to where charged shots even fire 2 projectiles. Further, when using boss powers, you'll get an altered super form of the weapon. The Speed Gear gives us Mega Man's perspective of time, meaning to help you move faster, it simply slows down the world around you. And while these powers are active, an overheat gauge will fill up on the left side of the screen. If you deactivate it before it maxes out, it will cool off, enabling use again more quickly. If you do run the gauge to the max, you'll see some short-circuiting-like animation on Mega Man, forcing you to wait until the gauge has completely emptied before being able to use it again. There are gear pickups that enemies drop that will give you immediate gauge reduction. Speaking of enemy drops, in addition to extra lives, health, and weapon recharge and those gears, enemies will also drop bolts. Otto makes his return. I believe his first appearance was in Mega Man 7, and you can visit Dr. Light's lab to purchase parts from Otto's shop, as well as extra lives in various energy tanks and weapon tanks using these bolts as currency. Parts serve as an upgrade and include things like power distributors to automatically put weapon energy into all weapons when you pick up an item, or increase the drop frequency of life refills from enemies. You can visit the shop from the stage select screen or from the game over continue screen. One thing that has evolved in Mega Man games since the NES days is the ability to quickly switch between powers. In addition to using L2 or R2 to cycle through them this time, weapon selection is actually mapped to the right stick in 11, so you have easy access to your favorite. And Mega Man's doggy friend Rush is also mapped to face buttons this time around, so no more going to the sub-menu just to pull out the rush coil. So, as most core Mega Man games are, Mega Man 11 can be difficult for newcomers. I think they started it with 10, where they provide an easy mode, which removes a lot of the one-hit kill obstacles. Mega Man has a life bar that can be replenished, but the series has always featured some spike pits and walls and such that can instantly kill. Mega Man 11 took this a step further as well in providing several one-hit kill situations unique to each stage's environment. For example, Torchman stage has sections of rolling flames moving in on you, and you have to navigate quickly through enemies and obstacles in front of you to stay ahead of it. Normal difficulty in Mega Man 11 is actually the 3rd difficulty setting after Newcomer and Casual, with the Superhero 4th difficulty setting as well. Casual gives you more lives, while Newcomer doesn't let you die in pits, gives you longer double gear time, and gives you infinite lives. So if you're scared of everyone saying how hard Mega Man games are and you want an entry point, this could be a good place to start. Now, I'm going to tread what most likely will be a touchy subject, pun intended, but I wanted to take a second and talk about the controls. Now, obviously it's a little bit subjective, and I've seen quite a bit of Twitter chatter addressing it from both sides. For those that know me or have heard me rant before, I got my start in the old school games. I finished every core Mega Man game 1 to 10 and the X's 1 to 6. I have a no-death playthrough of Contra on the channel, and I mean, no self-horn tooting here, but I'm a pretty good gamer. I'm not remotely advocating in any way either that Mega Man should stay in the 8-bit pixel arena, but I will say I do miss the tightness and collision of when it is. The 2 examples I'd cite the most from 11 are the round bouncing balls and Bounce Man stage, hitting your head on what seemed to most likely be a square collision for a round object, and it made a couple points in the stage kind of frustrating. Plus, holding the jump button down immediately before collision, Mario style, didn't make the jump higher. It seems like you had to have a good second or more of holding the button before impact to make that happen. Secondly, in the one-hit kill sections, namely Torchman stage, like I said, the one-block openings you have to jump through don't quite seem to match up to the animation for collision either. Also, don't know how many times I did the old running and jumping off the end of a platform and apparently hitting it a microsecond too late and just falling. I mean, it was a lot. And sure, practice makes perfect, but I just want to say the game feels a bit more like Mega Man 7, first core game that went away from the simpler 8-bit pixel art and has an equal level of tightness. Practice does indeed make perfect though, as one really cool feature is a set of challenges that give you some more goals to make. From the challenge menu you can select some various battle arenas, as well as go for speed runs on specific stages and bosses and mini-bosses, and not only can you see a leaderboard of times, but you can also select a person from the leaderboard and watch what they did to achieve such a time. And man, is there some great footage of people working to get their times down, which can also help you to see how they use enemy powers and navigate stages. Most challenges have bronze, silver, and gold ratings to give the game a little bit more replay value. Now, the next bit is the story. The X series usually tried a little harder than the core games, and most core games ended up with Wily making or taking over some robots and retreating to his castle. 11 is not too much different, other than some occasional cutscenes and flashbacks about Wily wanting to put his double gear technology into all robots to make them superior to humans, and Light saying it's too hard on their circuits. And Wily does it to 8 particular robots, giving you your stages. The game even keeps some vernacular that feels more 90s than anything else, like auto-calling Mega Man Mega Buddy, which is something that I would expect from the Mega Man series. Overall, Mega Man delivers an approximate 5 to 6 hour first playthrough that adds a neat gimmick to the core gameplay, difficulty you can set yourself based on your skill, a nice set of boss weapons that can be used multi-purposefully, control tightness that I personally found a little lacking, but others may disagree. Regardless, it will probably take a little practice to get accustomed to, and a good variety in its stages, themes, and designs, providing a challenging entry into this core series. Rated as a 2D action platformer, Mega Man 11 hits a 70 on my scale of true 0 to 100, where 50 is an average game. This is Jiro for Umbra Games. Thanks for watching.